Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with an artist, designer, and independent researcher who uses her art and storytelling medium to help remember our connection to Mother Earth. She derives her inspiration from searching into her Lepcha roots and reflecting on her life's journey. Through her storytelling, we journey through longing, loss, and disconnection. Finding our way forward through remembrance, we delve into origins, shamanism, and our deep connection and interdependence to nature. She also runs a design label that believes in the power of Mother Nature, communities, upcycling, and the skills of local artisans in creating contemporary and sustainable clothing and lifestyle products. Her label represents like minded people coming together to create, collaborate, celebrate, empower, and give back to society in small yet conscious ways. Welcome, Alyen Foning. It is
Hello.
so wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here today with you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate, especially we have quite the time difference, and I'm so grateful we were able to make it in a way that kind of works for both.
Yes, yes, I agree.
Appreciate you doing that. So yeah, I've heard you speak on several occasions, and I'm always impressed by like your clarity of purpose and getting right to the heart of the matter when you speak. And just starting off with your work in design and using nature as your inspiration for working with textiles, can you describe to us how you arrived at that and came to that work? I think I've heard you mention in one of our conversations that you had to sort of lose yourself to be able to create. And what did that look like? How did you know it? Like, how did you know that? Did that just unfold where circumstances forced that loss of selves, or was it a conscious decision? It's like a million
Um,
question in one, but like sort of your progression into your work, and yeah, if you can speak to that a little bit.
I think I should go at the beginning, where basically my father worked for a bank, and that made us kind of live in the city most of our lives. Every 3 years, 4 years, he'd get transferred to different cities. But what really kept me connected to Mother Nature and our ancestors and the tribe and nature as a whole were these holidays and vacations every year after school. So that was how I was still connected to nature and the stories that I heard from family members and grandmother, and kind of being out there playing with insects and mud and earthworms, and eating fruits from trees and helping like the family plant vegetables. So I think that connection was a very strong one for me, and I'm very grateful for that, because that, even though I was in the city, it kind of kept me, I mean, kept the magic alive.
Mm.
Like I would say, call it magic, because this was a world of forest spirits, and there's a world of like these insects that had purpose, and some plants that would help kind of heal warts and other aches and pains and other healing. So I did have that deep connection from my childhood. So I think as a person, I like, compared to my siblings and other cousins, I think I was anyway drawn and was very related to that side of life, of the world. So that, I guess, would be like my base for having that connection to nature. And when it comes to work, it was always there, because I always found, in terms of inspiration, that I'd always kind of go back to like motifs from nature, geometry in nature, colors of nature, forms, textures, and things like that. So I think my work reflected that, even though I wasn't consciously thinking of it. It was something that was inherent and came from a very kind of deep heart space for me. And that was somehow something, in terms of, even if you'd call it a style, or if you'd call it like a core from where you pull out inspirations, that was always my inspiration. So I feel that happened unconsciously or semi-consciously before, but then to a point where basically I was telling you, we were talking about like the loss of self. So at a point, I guess all of us do that. We explore different sides of life, explore being different people, doing different things. And I think there came a point in my life where I was, I did move away from the city to a Goa, which is like a beach coastal area. And life did slow down, but somewhere I think I was really far away from home. I wasn't connected to nature. I was living a very different life. And I think that eventually led to like a nervous breakdown, actually, what you would call a nervous breakdown, but more like an awakening that one is so far away from who one is and so far away from connecting to nature and our roots and ancestors that that nervous breakdown kind of helped me create and pick up the pieces, I would say, already there in the roots and, you know, in within myself. So I feel that helped me deeply question who I am, what I'm doing, and what nature means to me, and especially through my tribe, because that was the point where I was, okay, I need to go back home because I can learn and serve and do other things in other places, but somehow deeply connecting to my roots felt like the right place to be. So I can't really explain that, but it was like a call because the place I'm from, is the foothills of the Himalayas. So it was kind of like a call from the mountains and my ancestors. So I made my way back home. And then I would say there's like parallel journeys because that got me more into shamanism, which is also like a female shamans of the tribe, especially because I do come from a lineage of female shamans. So that was a calling which was also very loud and very strong. That was one of the, how would you say, roots or one of the threads I began to follow. And other than that, then the stories of nature and how we're connected, say, to the rivers, or honoring forest deities and honoring water and trees and animals and how we lived in harmony and balance. And there are so many beautiful stories because it's oral storytelling and some of it has been documented, but somehow I deeply from my heart that one, as I'm searching, I would also like to share this with like the younger generation, especially the younger generation, and otherwise even others who are disconnected from the roots. So my personal journey helped me to kind of uncover and remember who we are, and I do it through the tribe and through the stories of the tribe, but at the end of the day I feel it's us as humans, as a species, that we have this within each and every tribe and each and every person. So it's just that this root and connecting to nature helped me, and my ancestors and shamanism helped me kind of get deeply connected and to search deeply and to be able to share from a very grounded and magical place, I feel.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story. Yeah, that the grounded and magical is exactly my experience of you. Yeah, every time I hear you speak somewhere, it's absolutely wonderful. Yeah, that's quite the journey, and I love that you're following your call and just really, really like you clearly just dive in and are full-heartedly involved in whatever you do. Yeah, and so in your working with your textiles, have you learned, have you noticed anything changing in your life since you started understanding that connection and working with it consciously? And like, would you say it's had an impact on like emotional, physical well-being in some way, or is there a connection?
Yes, most most definitely. I've always been connected to textiles from like the very beginning. It's, I would say it's one of my mediums and one of the core mediums that I connect to very deeply, and it comes very naturally to me. So we did work before without all of this deep searching and going into it deeper. I think it would give me joy for sure. It would be very meditative and it would be very expressive and creative. But now I feel uh, there are two aspects again, because there's like Alyen Foning on the spiritual path, and there's Alyen Foning, the artist designer, which is kind of blending now. and kind of coming into one. But if I do look at the commercial aspect of creation of designs, they are obviously inspired by nature. So I do a lot of like wearable textile art, which is basically inspired by nature. And mostly I like kind of creating depth and dimension and textures using textiles. So that, because I was looking so deeply into, say, plants or the bark of a tree, so that helped me kind of express through the medium better and more, I don't know how I would say, I would try to capture the essence of the plant, for example, or the bark. So in that sense, I feel my awareness and my observation grew a lot more. And I actually work with only upcycled textiles. And unless absolutely necessary, unless I need a base fabric or I need a hardware, then I buy it. But usually I avoid doing that. So that, again, because I was being conscious, like my connection to Mother Earth, and so that was a decision that was actually very easy. And since I enjoy working with challenges, so to say, so when you have very limited amount of fabrics that you have no control over, because someone's giving you, a piece of clothing, someone's giving you a bed sheet, some jacket, some, various pieces of fabric, and so to try and create with harmony with all of them is something I actually enjoy. So that aspect of it is there. But then when I talk about the storytelling aspect and using textile art, in that what has happened is, because I search deeply and really try to understand the essence of the story without losing the essence, is what I try to portray or bring about in the storytelling, though it does come from my perspective, maybe my characters and my way of telling the story, but I see to it that I don't lose the essence. So in that, what happens is I feel that since I'm on this path, then each story, each stitch, each color, each visual, each element becomes very sacred, and it's like a prayer for me. So when I do make these artworks, I begin with prayer, and it's prayer throughout, and then it's prayer at the end. So I think that changed, because I feel something that was fun and joyful and meditative has become sacred for me. So I feel that has definitely changed for me.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize that you're using mostly only upcycled materials. That is so wonderful, and so fits right into the sustainability aspect of what we tend to speak about here. And so is it that you get donations from people? How does that work? How do you get the fabrics?
So people know that I do this. So when they have excess things, they're just like, listen, I have a box full of fabrics. Do you want it? I'm like, yes. And yeah, and I also collect sometimes, because sometimes I'm looking for like knitwear specific. So then I'll just put out a call to friends and family, and even online, because I don't like receiving posted stuff, but a lot of times people do post me stuff also, like a carton full of, like, they're like, these are beautiful fabrics, I've worn them enough, but I can't throw them, and I know you'll do something with them. So they send me their, special things that are faded, have little holes and things like that. So that happens. But I do want to add one thing to this. So I also find it so magical. In that sense, like an example. So the Story of the Munn is a textile art and a research essay I did, which basically speaks about the female shamans of the tribe. And it was one of the first, I would say, sacred projects for me. And it just kind of came about. There was a grand aunt who I had barely met when I was young, and she had heard that I use like fabrics. And so what she did was, you have saris in India, like the traditional, yeah. So silk saris and all kinds of really beautiful silks and blouse pieces and top pieces and things like that. She just sent a bag full to me, and she's like, give it to her. She'll use it through some family member. And it came to me, and within a very short time, as I was making it, she passed away. So it was almost like, this is me, and I believe that this is her blessing, and her I don't know, contribution is not the right word, but it was almost like she sent these to me with her blessings. And most of the fabrics I used were hers, like the core fabrics were hers. And I feel it's beautiful because I feel like it carries a part of her within that, and her blessings and her love. So I don't know. I also look at it and I find it very magical. It's just me and looking at the situations, but I believe in it, and I believe she blessed, and she wanted me to pass on her blessings forward.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I was thinking when you said earlier, and now with this piece as well, you get getting the fabrics and clothing and whatever items from people who have used them for however long they have used them, and then you get to pass them on. It carries their energy, it carries their wishes, their dreams, their hopes, their blessings, like you said, and to be able to pass that on and continue to using it and transforming its use, I think is such a wonderful thing to be doing and to keep carrying forward. And I was thinking, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, how we used to not have a whole lot of clothing, and it used to be that you wore things just for a really long time, and then it would get handed down to the next generation, right? And it
Yes,
would get handed down, and
yes,
most or many like industrialized countries, that doesn't happen anymore, right? It's like this throwaway and like non-connected fast fashion. You just go to the store, something's been worn a few times, and you go to the store and get the next thing, and it's so sad and so disconnected. And here you are creating this beautiful, not just artistic creation of beauty and function, um, but also bringing with it the energies of the prior owners, however many there might have been. And what a beautiful gift to be doing that. And I can only imagine the sort of creativity that is involved when, like you said, you don't know, you have a bed sheet and then you have something else that you're now needing to kind of do something with. And so is it that you look at the pieces and out of that then you get inspired, or is it that you have an idea and then you look for pieces that fit with that, or
I
both?
think it works both ways. Yeah, it's both ways. Sometimes the fabric inspires, but sometimes there is a visual. Usually, for me, I see colors. I see, like when I do sketches, rough sketches, in case I need specific forms, but I do think about it a lot before that, because I feel in the creative process of making things, other than the ones that I'm just directly inspired by the form and the shape, but more the storytelling, it's a lot of internal um, searching, resolving, processing, post the research with, interviews and things like that. So actually that is longer than the process of making. Usually it takes me very long, a couple of months, to kind of get into it and understand how and where that needs to come from, what forms, what colors. So usually for me, the forms will come in a rough sketch, and then colors, it's the colors. So I'm very organized, so I usually have all my fabrics arranged by either like the weight of it or the colors of it and textures, prints, and so I them. So it's just a matter of kind of spreading them out and just pulling stuff together and kind of compiling them together. So that's usually what I do, but it goes back and forth, because while I'm creating, then something emerges, and something is removed. And so I'm not, how would you say? I'm not so strict with myself on that. I let it flow, and I kind of, but I know the essence, I know the feeling, and I know when I'm going off the track. So I kind of I'm in tune with my intuitions and my heart, and this is very deeply actually at that point
Mhm.
of time. It's
Yeah.
like a trance. It's almost like a trance.
Yes, yes, I can imagine. And just looking at the pieces that I have seen in photos and posts that I've seen from you, it like it radiates that, like it radiates the amount of thought and the connection that has been given to it. So
Yeah.
it's quite beautiful. And I often have thought I wish I lived closer so I could you know participate, and but I like shipping halfway around the world is kind of
I
challenging
think
these
it'll
days.
happen someday.
That is so beautiful. Yeah, it just really, your clothing really, or the clothing really just speaks, and it's got energy and it resonates, and there's such the deep connection is so obvious in it. And so do you actually work with it yourself too, or is it mostly that you
Yes.
design, or you actually actively participate in the creation, working with the materials?
I would definitely not but I would definitely use my own hands. I mean, I do work with a couple of local women because sometimes the scale is larger, so I do need help, and I do need, how would you say, collaboration.
Yeah.
But that's for the storytelling and the art
And
pieces.
the
But for like the commercial accessories and other things, I do work with local women from the community and around like the spaces that I live. So that is a conscious decision because somehow I'm also very connected to women, and I've always wanted to create with women and kind of, spend time and share stories and learn. And so that is also a part of what I do, and I'm drawn to working with women, very drawn to working with women.
Yeah. So do you come together and work together then, and get to share time and space? And
Yes,
oh,
yes. And
that is so
sometimes some of them, like our mothers, or have other things that they do. So what happens is we do spend time together, and I'll teach them and we'll sample. So when the days that they can come and sit with me in my little space, we do it together. But otherwise, they also kind of are free to take it home and do it at their own time, because
mhm.
that's also something they need, space and time, housework, kids, and maybe another job. So that kind of a thing.
Yeah. And so does their help mostly come in then for the pieces, for your art pieces, rather than the um clothing line, or
Both,
both? Hmm.
both.
Yeah.
But that is something in working with my hands. So usually I always do the first sample myself and some bit of the production because it's fun. But for the storytelling, I definitely do the large of the work myself. And it's more with them where there'll be elements that I would give them, the additions, like say I'm making leaves. So I need like many leaves and dragonflies and butterflies. So they'll make elements, but the larger part of the work I would do, and I kind of put them together. So
Hmm. Hmm. How wonderful. Yeah. And it makes it so much more fun too, to be able to work in community and
yes,
and share a story and have some fun with it. It
yes.
doesn't.
Also, they bring in a lot of inputs also in that sense. Because the place that we come from, people are generally very creative and good with crafts, good with plants, with music. So like when I would be creating something, they would suggest, things. And the beauty of it and handwork is that no, each piece is the same.
Mhm.
So they bring in their personalities and their styles, and their shapes and forms will morph a bit. And I find that very, very beautiful. I actually like that very much.
Mm,
So it's their energy going into it also,
yes.
and their personalities, and
Hmm.
their tastes, and
Hmm.
many things like that.
What beautiful collaboration. Yeah, I think this is a great in this at this space and time as well, is the collaboration, collaborative effort. I think is so incredibly important in general. And I think the fact that you're so connected and so deeply um yeah, is so deeply connected with your roots and with your work, I think is informs that working in community as well. And I think that's wonderful. The nature connection piece is something that I always so deeply resonate with. And it's this moment of understanding. We had a brief conversation a few weeks ago. It's like this moment of understanding of how we're not separate, and it's all
Yes,
connected. Everything's coming together, and we're not separate. We're an integral part of nature, and can support its optimal functioning by the way we conduct ourselves and the way we shift habits or change lifestyles or like the clothing we pick, and making like a conscious choice to wear things that have soul, that have um, the nature elements to them. Um, and to understand that on like a deep cellular level and in our hearts, not just with our minds, because I feel like there's a big difference to you understand it here, and yeah, that's all, yeah, we're all connected, and then we act in ways where as if we weren't connected, right? And then, but if I really truly understand here and on a
Yes.
cellular level, it changes. I think it informs how I conduct myself in the world.
Yes.
Have you?
So just to kind of, just because I've been thinking about it, and I was just sharing with some students. So I also teach design in some design colleges, and we were talking about sustainability, and the course was based on narratives and sustainability. And we came back to this discussion where it's like if we don't go to the river, and if we don't connect to the river, then we cannot speak for the river, fight for the river, feel for the river, for example. So it's just a concept then. But when we deeply connect to the mountains, to the river, to nature, and that kind of connection does a very different thing. This is something I've come to understand, because we speak in concepts of sustainability, and we speak and we do many things, and not that people mean it. But when we have a deeper connection to nature, and understanding that she is to be revered, that she gives us life, that we are connected through our stories, through our ancestors, through the ecosystem, and so many. And for us, it's like, even like, especially like, since I'm speaking about the river, it's like we're connected in birth, in life. We're connected in marriage, we're connected in death. So like, the rivers are that important, water is that important to us. So I think this deep cellular connection that you're talking about, or we're talking about, is, it helps by going into like these stories and finding ways to physically be in nature and to understand that. And I feel that really does something to the commitment, to the understanding, and to this connection, which becomes so, it's like mother, it's mother. And how can you harm your mother? It's like that. And something, I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but that's the depths of which we could connect to Mother Nature, and that just brings in a whole. It's not a burden, it's not a concept, it's not a thought, it is a relationship.
Yeah, it's a relationship. It becomes a way of life. It becomes just simply a way of being in the world, because
Yes.
if I'm so connected and I understand that we are all deeply connected, how could I possibly do some harm to my environment? Because as our friend Jim always says, what I do to myself, I do to the earth, and what I do to the earth, I do to myself, right? So why would I be doing something harmful? But in the sort of industrial world, like, we're so far removed from that many times, for many of us, and it is just a concept, and then the actions are, it is more difficult to understand that me going to a supermarket, picking up something in a plastic container, what have you, is so dramatically different than putting my hands in the dirt in the garden and pulling out a carrot, and
Yes.
yeah, it's really so deeply needed at this time, this connection piece. And it's so wonderful to listen to you and hearing that deep connection and feeling it, not just hearing it, but feeling it, sensing it, being able to really capture that is such a gift. And I find it so incredibly inspirational. Just the reason I really, really wanted to speak to you and hear more from you about that, because I think it's really can help others to sort of get in touch with that and think about how that fits in their life.
Yes.
So
And
yeah, I'd
what you
like to.
did say, sorry,
Yeah,
just
go
to
ahead.
kind of interrupt, what you did say about, like, we are nature and nature is us, and that's something I've been questioning and working on deeply. This us right now, if we look at Alyen Foning as a being, um, that connection to begin with me, with myself, is so layered and so kind of blocked in so many ways, and there's so much noise. And honoring oneself, and honoring nature. And that's something I feel the first step towards connecting to nature is to be able also to connect deeply to oneself, which is something I'm learning and struggling sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
there's so many things we've picked up and so many fears and ideas and perspectives. So I feel that's also a very integral and crucial part of connecting to nature is also oneself and honoring oneself and healing oneself and accepting grief and accepting the anger and accepting sadness and kind of changing or I like using the word alchemy. It's kind of like morphing and transforming that energy into loving um, energy within, and then to be able to put that out. So that's something I feel is such a core, such an important aspect that we ignore so much, because within each other, between each other also as humans, we fail to do that and be kind to each other, and ourselves. So then the larger connection is tougher because we ourselves have not connected within deeply. And it's an ongoing process, and it's a lot of work, but I feel it's important for us to do that ourselves and to kind of create spaces to be able to heal together, and
Mm-hmm.
grow together and connect together. So that's
Mm.
something I've been really, really kind of uh, looking at, working on consciously. Yes, because I do not want to bring that energy into the work that I put, into the life
Mm.
that I live. I just, I feel like I can't do it anymore. I just feel it's too much. It's not what I want to carry anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there is that point where you get to that level of connection and understanding where it simply isn't possible to do it any other way anymore. And that's the beauty of that journey of getting there. It's so rewarding. It may not be easy to get to. And I
Yes.
think it's incredibly rewarding, and it brings an integrity as well, and piece of integrity that is if I keep doing this, an alignment, I guess, is what I
Yes.
what I mean there.
Yeah.
That is just inherent in everything that you do. Yeah, beautiful. I'd like to pivot a little bit into your sort of other venture. You're learning about your ancestral roots and shamanism through various research and art projects, and are in the process of training under a shaman of the Lepcha tribe. And
Yes.
for that, I think you also travel a lot and record messages of elders. Is that true?
Yes. Yes.
How do we picture that? Do you find an openness in people wanting to share, or does it take some convincing on your part to get people to sort of open up? How does that work?
It's not difficult. They're the most loving, caring, open, humble, powerful people I've met. And I've been blessed because I feel all these projects that come my way are like instructions from like the universe and I'm very like, okay, now you go and do this. I'm like, okay, I'll follow. I sometimes like find something and it calls me, but mostly it'll come to me because I've been kind of putting out the work, you see, so that people who know that I'm connected to this kind of work will approach me, and that's what's been happening. It's like vibrations, putting out
Mhm.
these vibrations, and so they come. So with the recent project that I've done is with co-author. It's supposed to be like a documentation, just a documentation project for from shamans of the Lepcha, the Rai, and the Sunwar tribe. And so that wasn't a large budget, but it gave us enough to kind of travel, meet, and research, and kind of meet elders and shamans of various tribes. And what I noticed, what we noticed was that the younger generation, there are very few people who are actually, or almost none, that are interested in knowing. in searching, in asking questions, and receiving this knowledge and this wisdom of like the old ways, whether it's medicinal plants or stories or healings of various kinds. So when like people like me and my friend Vipasha, when we went, they were so excited to have us, and they said that it's like what you're doing is like an honor. We were like, thank you. They're like, no, we thank you. You're going to write this and that you're going to document it. And it's amazing how their observation, because they're so connected to nature, to everything that's happening in the world, it hit hard, when they asked or spoke about certain things. Like there was like he's not a shaman, but he's like a shaman's assistant in that sense, though he is gifted also, and he's uneducated. But then he was talking about how about climate change in a different way. He was talking about how in this time the weather is unpredictable, how these plants that are not from the cold region have begun to grow in his region, which is like the cold region, and how those plants in fact survive all year through. So he's like, something is really wrong. So he's so in tune because he lives that life. Then he's talking about things like power. He's how does how does a farmer not have food to eat, whereas all these people in the world have like so much food and they're wasting it? How is that happening? How are minorities being silenced, and how are minorities being dominated? And these are the observations he had, and he's like, I'm just an old man just rambling, but I was really in like the things he said, the things he observed. This is one we met so many. It's they have so much knowledge and wisdom, and there are almost nobody who's kind of coming forward to take on the path that they're on. One, and two, to even come and ask questions, because it will kind of, I don't believe it will vanish. I believe it will emerge, even if it does vanish for now. Somewhere it will emerge at some point through newer beings, newer people, newer children later. But at this point, when they're here, I feel we should make time to go meet them, and they're very open, and they're very curious and funny and simple and loving. So no resistance whatsoever. In fact, they ask us to come, stay, eat, and they'll talk for hours. So it's a beautiful experience. It's just humbling. It's very humbling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine. Wow, what a beautiful story, and how fascinating too. The story about the man. It's so funny how we have this concept of education and what that means, and what um like you mentioned, he's uneducated. He may be uneducated in like this scholarly type sense, and so wise, so incredibly wise and knowledgeable.
There were so many who said so many amazing heart, soul piercing things, and made like you question about like life, and
Mm-hmm.
about everything. It's just
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Yeah. Is there a lesson in your work with the elders that that they have taught you, or that you've heard about, that you think everyone needs to learn at some point in their life?
Wow, there are so many.
What was
There
it?
are so many. I said,
So
wow,
many.
so many, so many. I can't even like. It's like I'll just share a few that are coming to my head. It's just these, like for example, talk about like segregation and being separate. So one of the shamans was like, nature does not segregate. The rain falls evenly here, and the rain will fall evenly there. The sun, gives light evenly here and evenly there. So he's like, why do these segregations? Nature does not segregate. That's why we worship her. So that's like one. And then there was one where, okay, what is home? They say that this building you're making is that home. This body that you're in is that home. When you're gonna die, that home, your body is gonna be taken out of there. And then when you die, you leave your body, you know, that's not your home either. He's like, where is home? And then he laughs, he kind of like smirks and, says things like that. And there's things about borders, there's things about, there were no borders, physical, geographical borders, and how now man has created these borders and things like that, and so many more about the elements being part of us. And it's like I can't even know where to like begin and where to end. It's just every time some things they say touch like me so deeply, but also many things they say will make me question everything. Like, so there are so many more, like how each place is sacred, where any space, any time, anything can be sacred. So they were talking about how, like one female shaman, she's like, if I sit here at this moment, then this is my altar, this is my sacred space. It's the intent and it's the heart that you come with, and that makes it sacred. So things like that. So.
Wow. Yeah. And then do you capture the messages in some form? Like, is it going into a book? Is it going into recordings? Is it going, are you retelling? How are you preserving the knowledge for future generations?
So we do have recordings of voice recordings right now. This is also going into a book. It's almost done. Maybe another 2 months it'll be done. And otherwise, I also speak. Like I did to you. So when I find the moments, I kind of share these things. And obviously, I do write. Not everything will go in the book, but I have it. But I would be, trying to get it out in various ways because, and I don't intend to stop reading more and interviewing more shamans. I think I'm going to do this all my life.
Yeah, what a beautiful gift for those who don't have access to elders' wisdom. It's such a beautiful gift to have that you're able to bring forward. And maybe people, like you said, if people don't, as the younger generation doesn't go out, doesn't question, but maybe if they see it, it's like, oh wow, okay, that is going to make them think and going to um, inspire something deeper when it's presented without
Yes,
having to go find it.
that is one of the main intentions of me putting out the stories, whether it's by talking, writing, or through the art, because I believe that we as humans have inherent primal memories within us, and it is so big, it is so it's the same that many things, even though we might not physically remember something, there is that within us. And so through these stories, that's something that I consciously, subconsciously, unconsciously, all kinds of I kind of try to do that, and it kind of comes out through the work.
Yeah. Wow. What a beautiful mission you have, and it's just so wonderful to hear about that and hear how you have all these pieces that are coming together and weaving together in such a beautiful way, and um kind of just fit. And I think that's sort of the thing that happens when you have that deep connection, because like you said, it's all guided, right? It's sort of you just receive the information, you receive the impulse.
Yes.
However that looks, it's different for all of us. Some hear, some know. It's like this inner knowing of some sort where, oh,
Yes.
this is the person I have to talk to, or this is the person that's now coming to me, because that's sort of the energy that you're putting out. And I think that's synchronicities, I'm sure, are happening a lot more.
Yes. Yes. It is. I think it also, that's what comes from a place of being in touch with my own heart and my own emotions, where there would be so many situations that would come, but what, like, I would feel it and I would know, no, this is not the one, or this is the one, or I have to, there's like a thing saying, I have to do this. This is what I have to do. This is where I have to stop. Let's leave now. That kind of a thing. So it comes from listening inside and outside and connecting. I think that listening is very important, and I'm learning do it a little more now.
Yeah. Yeah. So important listening. I so agree with you. Yeah. And that informs, right? And then the ability to have that clarity that you so clearly have, and that the ability to have discernment from that, and knowing which is the path. Because I'm sure there are so many things that present and that people come to you with, and to be able to know which is the one thread I'm picking up is such a
Yes,
gift.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
But
It
I feel the more and more we align,
mm,
say, to like my purpose, what I feel is my purpose deeply, then what happens is the noise, somehow the other
mm,
noise tends to disappear.
yeah.
That's what I feel.
Yeah. That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. Yes. Noise disappears. Love that. Yeah. So is there anything in closing? I see we're approaching the time, sadly. Is there anything that you wish I had asked that you really want to speak to, something that's really alive in you that you feel like you want to share before we close?
Uh, I hadn't thought about it, but something is coming in my, I don't even know, in my head, heart, is what I'm learning more and more each day is that we each are very unique, and we have our gifts, and we think, do, and live and believe in a certain way, and it's different. But somewhere I feel that living that and listening to that, and not being afraid or not kind of trying to fit into society's um, structures, is something that we should learn to do. Because more and more, for example, people think I'm crazy because I live in this magical world, parallel magical world, right? But it is my reality, and I'm not harming myself or others. So it is completely fair and good, and it's good to be able to live that with full belief, commitment, and trust. That's something I'm beginning to strongly learn and understand, that we each have our voice and our calling and our song and our gift, and that we should not doubt it, and we should not be afraid to break the structures that kind of try to suppress that. And I feel that more and more each day. And I feel the moment I began doing that, the paths, like it wasn't easy in the beginning, but now the paths are opening more. The growth is more, the belief is more, the conviction and the commitment is more. And it's a beautiful, peaceful, loving life. So I feel that. I feel strongly about that lately.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Thank you for those closing words. I feel like they really resonate, and they really touch me deeply. So I appreciate you adding that piece. And I want to thank you for your time, for being here, for sharing so openly and sharing so from your heart about your journey, about your work, and about the connection and things, that many topics that I think are so crucially important for all of us at this time to be thinking about, to be feeling into, and to be dealing with. And as always, I've found you incredibly inspirational, and I'm so honored you took the time to be here with me today. Thank you.
Thank you. I just enjoy talking with you. It's actually just fun. It's just fun. I think it flows with us. No, we just go from one to the other and up and down. And I don't know, where all we travel together.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Well, thank you so much.